Good morning. Today is Tuesday, June 16th, and we'll be reading 2 Kings 4 through 6.
4, 5, and 6. So we have 3 more chapters today. And you have a brand new
one.
Yes, both of you do.
Yeah, today.
Yes, you got them today.
Yeah, today.
So yours has stickers.
We like writing on hers.
She has current. Yes, she's just gonna write on hers.
They're the old ones.
Hers is she's just gonna color like the old ones.
Matches. That's the picture of her book.
They're so she's gonna color, but hers are very big. So it's perfect for toddlers. And yours has activities and things to keep you busy with.
I see.
But
I know.
you're going to listen to the story, right, Josh?
Yeah.
Both of them.
Yes. All right. Are you ready, Nathaniel?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Stickers. Okay. Oh boy. You're going to listen, right? Or is this going to be an interesting reading? It's missing, but you know where it is. Okay. Well, we're going to work on it quietly, okay? All right. 4, 5, and 6. Here we go. The widow's olive oil. Oh, this is a good story. Well, not just a story, but...
Alright. Now, one of the wives of the sons of the prophets cried to Elisha, "Your servant, my husband, is dead, and you know that your servant feared the Lord, but a creditor has come to take my 2 sons as slaves." Elisha said to her, "What shall I do for you? Tell me, what do you have in the house?"
Well, then listen,
She said-
Alexa, listen.
She said, "Her servant has nothing in the house except a jar of oil." Then he said, "Go ask for the vessels from all your neighbors, empty vessels, and not just a few. Then go in, shut the door behind you and your sons, and pour the oil into all these vessels. When each is full, set it aside." So she left him and shut the door behind her and her sons, and they kept bringing vessels to her, and she kept pouring. When the vessels were full, she said to her son, "Bring me another vessel." But he said to her, "There is not another vessel," and the oil ceased. Then she went and told the man of God, and he said, "Go and sell the oil and pay your debt, and you and your children can live on the rest." Elisha raises a Shunammite son. One day Elisha passed through Shunem, and a noble woman was there who urged him to eat a meal. So whenever he passed through, he stopped there to eat a meal. And he said to her husband, "I know that he is a holy man of God, regularly passing through near us. Let us make a little walled upper room and put for him there a bed, a table, a chair, and a lamp, so when he comes to us, he can stay there." One day he came by, and he turned aside to the upper room and lay down. He said to Gehazi, his servant, "Call this Shunammite woman." So he called her, and she stood before him. He said to him, "Say to her, look, you have gone to all this trouble for us. What may be done for you? Would you have a word spoken on your behalf to the king or the captain of the army?" And she answered, "I am living among my people." He said, "What may be done for her?" And Gehazi said, "Actually, she has no son, and her husband is old." He said, "Call her." When he had called her, she stood in the entrance. He said, "At this season, when it is time, you will embrace a son." And she said, "No, my lord, man of God, do not lie to your servant." But the woman conceived and bore a son at that season, at that time that Elijah had told her. When the child was older, he went out on one day to his father with the reapers. He said to his father, my head, my head." And he said to a servant, "Carry him to his mother." When he had taken him and brought him to his mother, the boy sat on her knees until noon and died. She went up and laid him down on the bed of the man of God, shut the door on him, and went out. Then she called to her husband, "Send me one of the servants and one of the donkeys, so that I may run to the man of God and return." He said, "Why are you going to him today? It is neither new moon nor Sabbath." She said, "It will be all right." Then she saddled the donkey and said to her servant, "Lead on and do not hold back for me unless I tell you." So she went and came to the man of God at Mount Carmel. And when the man of God saw her far off, he said to Gehazi his servant, "Look, over there is the Shunammite woman. Now run to meet her and say to her, Are you all right? Is your husband all right? Is the child all right?" And she said, "It's all right." When she came to the man of God at the mountain, she grabbed his feet. Gehazi approached to push her away, but the man of God said, "Let her alone, for she is in bitter distress, and the Lord has hidden it from me and has not told me." Then she said, Did I ask for a son for my Lord? Did I not say, do not give me false hope? Then he said to Gehazi, "Prepare yourself, take my staff in your hand, and go. If you find anyone, do not greet him, and if anyone greets you, do not answer him, and lay my staff on the face of the boy." Then the boy's mother said, "As the Lord lives, and as you live, I will not leave without you." And he got up and followed her. Gehazi passed through ahead of them and laid the staff on the face of the boy, but there was no sound or response. So he returned to meet him and told them, "The boy is not awake." When Elisha came into the house, he saw the boy was dead, lying on his bed. So he went in and shut the door on the two of them and prayed to the Lord. He went up and lay on the child, put his face on his face, and his eyes on his eyes, and his hands on his hands. Then he bent over the child, and the child's flesh warmed. Then he got down, walked once back and forth in the house, and went up and bent over him. The boy sneezed 7 times, and the boy opened his eyes. Then Elijah called Gehazi and said, "Call the Shunammite woman." So he called her, and she came to him. Then he said, "Pick up your son." Then she came in, fell at his feet, and bowed down to the ground. Then she picked up her son and went out. Elisha purifies the deadly stew. When Elijah returned to Gilgal, there was a famine in the land. The sons of the prophets were sitting before him, and he said to his servant, "Put on the big cooking pot and boil some stew for the sons of the prophets." One went out into the field to gather herbs. He found a wild vine and gathered from it wild gourds, filling his clothes, and came and split them into the pot of stew, but they did not recognize them. So they poured it out for the men to eat, but as they were eating the stew, they cried out, "Man of God, there is death in the pot." They could not eat it. But he said, "Then bring forth flour." He threw it into the pot and said, "Pour it for the people and let them eat." And there was nothing bad in the pot.
Wow.
Elisha feeds 100 men. A man came from Baal Shalisha, and he brought the man of God food for the first fruits, 20 loaves of barley and fresh ears of grain in his sack. And Elijah said, "Give it to the people and let them eat." But his servant said, "How can I set this before 100 men? He said, "Give it to the people and let them eat. For thus says the Lord, and they will eat and have some left." So he set it before them. They ate, and some was left over, according to the word of the Lord. Naaman healed of leprosy. Now Naaman, captain of the army of the king of Aram, was a great man before his master, and held favor because by him the Lord had given deliverance to Aram. He was also a mighty warrior, but he had leprosy. The Arameans had gone out raiding and had taken captive a little girl from the land of Israel, and she waited on the wife of Naaman. She said to her mistress, "If only my Lord were before the prophet who is in Samaria, then he would take away his leprosy from him." So Naaman went in and told his Lord, "Thus and so spoke the girl from the land of Israel." The king of Aram said, "Go, and I will send a letter to the king of Israel." So he went and took with him 10 talents of silver, 6,000 shekels of gold, and 10 sets of clothes. He brought the letter to the king of Israel, which read, "Now, when this letter comes to you, know that I have sent Naaman my servant to you, that you may take away from him his leprosy." When the king of Israel had read the letter, he tore his clothes and said, "Am I God to kill and to give life, that this man sends a man to me to take away his leprosy? But consider and see how he is seeking a quarrel with me." But when Elisha the man of God heard that the king of Israel had torn his clothes, he sent word to the king, saying, "Why have you torn your clothes?" Let him come to me, and he will know that there is a prophet in Israel. So Naaman came with his horses and chariots and stood at the entrance to the house of Elijah. Elisha sent a messenger to him, saying, Go and wash 7 times in the Jordan, and your flesh will be returned and cleansed. But Naaman became angry and went away, and said to himself, Surely he could have come out and stood and called on the name of the Lord his God, and waved his hand over the infected area and taken away the leprosy. Are not Abana and Pharpar rivers of Damascus better than all the waters of Israel? Could I not wash in them and be clean? So he turned and went away in a rage. But the servants approached and spoke to him. My father, if the prophet had told you to do something great thing, would you not have done it? How much more when he said to you, Wash and be clean? So he went down and dipped himself in the Jordan 7 times according to the word of the man of God, and his flesh returned like the flesh of a little boy, and he was clean. Then he returned to the man of God, and he and all his company, he came and stood before them, and he said, No, but now I know that there is no God in all the land except in Israel. Now take a gift from your servant. But he said, As the Lord lives before whom I stand, I will take no gift. He urged him to take it, but he refused. Then Naaman said, If not, let 2 mule loads of dirt be given to your servant, for your servant will no longer offer a burnt offering or sacrifice to any god except the Lord. But may the Lord pardon your servant on one account. When my master enters the house of Ramon to worship, and he leans on my hand, and I bow down in the house of Ramon, when I do bow down in the house of Ramon, may the Lord pardon your servant on this one account. He said to him, Go in peace. So he departed from him a short distance. Gehazi's greed. Then Gehazi, the servant of Elisha, the man of God, said, My master has spared Naaman the Aramean by not taking from his hands what he brought. As the Lord lives, I will run after him and take something from him. So Gehazi pursued Naaman. Then Naaman saw him running after him, jumped down from his chariot to meet him, and said, Is everything all right? And he said, Everything is all right. My master has sent me and says, Even now 2 servants from Ephraim, from the sons of the prophets, have come to me. Give me a talent of silver and 2 changes of clothes. Naaman said, Please take 2 talents. He urged them and tied up the 2 talents of silver in 2 bags with 2 changes of clothes and gave them to 2 of the servants who carried them before Gehazi. When he came to Ophel, he took them from their hand and put them away in the house. Then he sent the men away, and they departed. Then he entered and stood before his master, and Elijah said to him, Where have you come from, Gehazi? And he said, Your servant went here and there. He said to him, Did my heart not go with you when the man turned from his chariot to meet you? Is it a time to take money and to take garments, olives and vineyards, sheep and oxen, male and female servants? The leprosy of Naaman will cling to you and to your descendants forever. So he went out from his presence, leprous like snow. The floating axe head. Now the sons of the prophets said to Elijah, Look at the place where we are living with you is too small for us. Let us go to the Jordan and take from there one beam per man, and let us make for ourselves a place to live there. And Elijah said, Go. Then one of them said, Please come with your servants. And he said, I will come. So he went with him. And they came to the Jordan and cut down trees, but as one was cutting down a tree, the axe head fell into the water. He cried, Ah, master, it was borrowed. Then the man of God said, Where did it fall? When he showed him the place, he cut off a stick and threw it in there, and he made the iron float. So Elijah said, Pick it up, and he reached out his hand and took it. The blinded Arameans captured. Then the king of Aram was fighting against Israel, and he took counsel with his servants, saying, At such and such a place will be my camp. But the man of God sent word to the king of Israel, saying, Take care not to pass through this place, for the Arameans are marching down there. The king of Israel sent word to the place of which the man of God spoke. He warned him and was on his guard there more than once. The mind of the king of Aram was troubled by this, so he called his servants and said to them, "Will you not tell me who among his sides with the king of Israel?" Then one of the servants said, "Not one, my lord, O king. Elijah, the prophet who is in Israel, tells the king of Israel the words that you speak in your bedroom. He said, 'Go and see where he is, so that I may send for him and take him.' And it was told to him, 'He is in Dothan.' So he sent horses, chariots, and a great army there. They came by night and surrounded the city. When the servant of the man of God rose early in the morning and went out, a force surrounded the city, both with horses and chariots. And the servant said to him, 'Alas, my master, what will we do?' And he said, 'Do not be afraid, for there are more with us than with them.' Then Elijah prayed, 'Lord, open his eyes and let him see.' So the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw that the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire surrounding Elisha. And when they came down to him, Elisha prayed to the Lord, 'Strike this people with blindness.' And he struck them with blindness according to the word of Elijah. Elijah said to him, 'This is not the way, and this is not the city. Follow me and let me bring you to the man whom you seek.' But he led them to Samaria. When they entered Samaria, Elijah said, 'Lord, open the eyes of these men and let them see.' And the Lord opened up their eyes, and they saw that they were in the middle of Samaria. The king of Israel said to Elijah when he saw them, 'My father, shall I kill them? Shall I kill them?' And he said, 'You shall not kill them. Did you capture them with your sword and with your bow? Those whom you want to kill, set bread and water before them, and let them eat and drink, and then go to their master.' So he prepared for them a great banquet. When they had eaten and had drunk, he sent them away, and they went to their master. So the Aramean raiders did not enter into the land of Israel again. Then Ben-Hadad besieges Samaria. After this, Ben-Hadad, king of Aram, gathered all his army, went up and besieged Samaria. There was a great famine in Samaria, and they besieged it until a donkey's head was sold for 80 shekels of silver, and 1/4 of a cab of dove droppings for 5 shekels of silver. As the king of Israel was walking across the city wall, a woman cried out to him, 'Hey, my lord king!'
Help.
Help, my lord king. He said, 'If the Lord will not help you, how can I help you? How can I help you? From the threshing floor or from the winepress?' And the king said to her, 'What is wrong with you?' And she said, 'This woman said to me, Give your son and let us eat him today.' And I was like, 'What?' And we will eat my son tomorrow. So we boiled my son and ate him. And the next day I said to her, 'Give me your son that we may eat him.' But she has hidden her son." When the king heard the words of the woman, he tore his clothes. And since he was walking across the city wall, the people saw that he had sackcloth on his body underneath. Then he said, "So may God do to me, and even more, if the head of Elijah, the son of Shaphat, stands on his shoulders after today." Now Elijah was sitting in his house, and the elders were sitting with him. The king sent a messenger, but before the messenger came to him, Elijah said to the elders, "Are you aware that this son of a murderer has sent a man to take off my head? When the messenger enters, shut the door and hold it against him. Is not the sound of his master's feet behind him?" And while he was speaking with him, the messenger came down to him. And then the king said, "This calamity is of the Lord. Why shall I hope in the Lord any longer?"
Oh, wow. Oh, my.
Oh, and that is 2 King.
It is. It's 2 Kings 4, 5, and 6. Hold on. So, Matthew,
Yes.
what was one of the miracles that Elisha did?
What was his name that got killed from the leprosy?
The one who got healed with the leprosy? Naaman?
Naaman. He got healed by Elijah told him to go dip
In the river?
river, and then he went to go, and then he stopped because the river was very, very dirty. So he said, "Well, there are other cleaner rivers. Why do I have to go to that river?"
So what
But
was
he ended
that?
up doing
What was that he didn't want to do it, and he walked away angry? What was that would have caused him to be angry?
Why? No.
I don't know.
What is it?
Selfishness.
Well, that's very good.
mean,
But
wait.
selfishness from,
The devil.
well, or from yourself. It would be pride, right? Pride would cause him to be angry
Pride, selfish.
and say, "No, I'm not going to do that." And what if he decided only to do that 5 times? It went to work. What about 6?
Went to work. He just needs to do it one more time and then boom.
Why? Why?
He never obeys.
I think maybe because because it was like 7 days in like a week or something.
No.
Well, 7 would be complete, and that's
Yeah,
that's
maybe that has something to do with it.
and obedience. Though, do you see where obedience is required to see God's
Yes, that is true. Obedience.
God's hand? And then there was the other one. With that little boy, the axe floating.
Yes.
I have always liked that miracle. That is, he put a stick in there.
And then he just went.
Does that make any sense at all?
No.
Put a stick in there
You
with
put
an
the
axe.
stick on the top, and it makes the axe float to the top. Have you ever felt an axe would be kind of like a
Metal.
a hammer?
It's
I mean,
like throwing,
it's solid,
It's like throwing a rock in.
right?
It's supposed to sing.
So would it wouldn't make sense that it goes up, right?
It would not make sense for you to throw a rock in the ocean. and it floats.
But then it comes back up, which is really cool. And it doesn't make any sense. But would that have happened if Elisha had just done whatever to make it float? He had to have heard from the Lord. He had to have heard from the Lord. And the Lord said, throw a stick in. Now, what if Elisha said, God, that makes no sense at all. There's no reason or logic to that. I can't do that. Would we have seen the axe come to the top?
No, you wouldn't have.
No, you wouldn't have. So we need to obey even when it doesn't make sense, right?
Yep.
And then you watch God move.
You can see God do a miracle.
Did he want to do that miracle?
No.
Did God want to do that miracle?
Oh, yes.
God wanted to do the miracle,
He wanted.
but he needs our obedience, right?
His obedience.
All right. Bye. Have a great day.
Please subscribe.
If you like this video, please like, comment.
Oh.